Okay. Something is happening. Dog is barking because she's gonna have a walk. Alright. First of all, why? Okay, 11k. That's neat. Apparently bottles are also to the max. Nothing. What is happening? Yield 190. Interesting. I'm gonna get my first Pyrium parts soon, and then I'm gonna build myself some clothes. Imperial 150. Experience 6 days. 6 days. I have 6 days. Honestly, look, Perlika, why is there no discussion about amnesia specifically? Bone Crusher Crown. Would not escape. His illness. Civilization band. Ah, that's cool. Ooh. Just superstition. Oh, come on. That's unfortunate. That being affected by one blight resists helps you with the other. Enjoy learning about this world. I really enjoy learning about this world, and the fact that it fits neatly with the ability to talk to characters and just getting the feel of what is actually happening. It's really good. That's really useful. Feeling like shit, my belly hurts after I took a painkiller. Good, so. I'm not gonna answer right now. Треба на 24. And we're resident digging tunnels. Yeah. This attack correct a lot of stuff. Mhm. Mm. Tamam. Menos. Yeah, suspense. Mm. Mhm. 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 I'm gonna wait on it. Wait, so I just realized something. Considering I don't. me just switch things up and make it so one of those two.
Endfield won't stop progressing.
Is what bug capsule but can't citron. See. It makes much more sense. Hmm. Wait. Is the yellow stuff being produced in one spot? Yes. We might want to just here. two types of things. And don't take up too much my stuff.
High threat hostile. Approach with caution.
A blade unsheathed, its light unleashed!
All ready.
Forward! Trust in me! Right there! Take that! Deflect! Crystallize! You're fighting me! Done!
We made another step forward, Endfielders.
I wouldn't expect anything less. An easy victory.
Engaging. Stay safe, team.
We'll see this through.
Probably... Oh no, I probably can repair it already. No? I guess I can't.
Something ain't right.
Danger up ahead. Leave it to me. Forward. Ready to strike. My turn. Face your end. Here we go.
Good work, everyone. Violence is never our objective. Let's press forward.
Leaving the site. 2. Evacuate the site ASAP during emergencies. 3. Update work logs and check the machines at
This ain't normal. Break them up. Real good. What? Got a present for you. You're next. Something ain't right. We getting buzzed?
Watch your step, people. Leave it to me. Sequence! Crystalla, how's that, Edmund? No hardship will stop us.
A definitive outcome achieved through strong teamwork.
Here's our cue. Trust in me. Face your end.
Good work, everyone.
Evacuate the
Violence
site
is never
ASAP
our
during
objective.
emergencies.
Let's press forward.
3. Update work logs and check the machines at end of shift. Safety reminders. 1. Do safety checks before entering or leaving the site. 2. Evacuate the site ASAP during emergencies. 3. Update work logs and check the machines at end of shift. Safety reminders. 1. Do safety checks before entering or leaving the site. 2. Evacuate the site ASAP during emergencies. 3. Update work logs and check the machines at end of shift. Safety reminders. 1. Do safety checks before entering or leaving the site. 2. Evacuate the site ASAP during emergencies.
Only the
3.
boss matters.
Update work logs and check the machines at end of shift. Safety reminders. 1. Do safety checks before entering or leaving the site. 2. Evacuate the site ASAP
Something ain't right.
Watch your step, people. I'm with you. Here we go. Forward. Ready to strike.
Okay,
Crystallize.
Havoc has on the shoulder.
Checks before
Seems like
entering or leaving the
a
site.
really bad idea.
2. Evacuate the site ASAP during emergencies. 3. Update work logs and check the machines at end of shift. Safety reminders. 1. Do safety checks before entering or leaving the site. 2. Evacuate the site ASAP during emergencies. 3.
Something important lies over there.
The machines
A very timely reminder.
Safety reminders. 1. Do safety checks before entering or leaving the site. 2. Evacuate the site ASAP during emergencies. 3. Update work logs and check the machines at end of
This
shift.
is one rewarding
Safety
trip.
reminders. 1. Do safety checks before entering or
Okay,
leaving
yeah.
the site. 2. Evacuate the site ASAP during emergencies. 3. Update work logs and check the machines at end of shift.
Crimes against the language
Do
are
safety checks
more
before
severe
entering or leaving the site.
than anything you
2.
can do to
Evacuate the
people.
site ASAP during emergencies. 3. Update work logs and check the machines at end of shift.
Congress.
Update work logs and check the machines. Safety reminders. 1. Do safety checks.
Watch your step, people.
All variables within estimates.
Got a present for you.
Yeah.
Together last.
I'll help too. Here's our chance. Trust everyone. Will hurt.
Well, also don't take prisoners. It seems. Just because.
Something ain't right. Civilization.
Time to fight. All variables within estimates.
Here's our chance. Will hurt. Ready to strike. Face your edge.
Hey, over here.
Pulled off a sleek move. A definitive outcome achieved through strong teamwork. We made another step forward, Enfielders.
We've done it. Hope you're not tired, Mr. Dolly.
Really annoyed that she wants to call me professor and actually calls me professor. I'm really annoyed by it. Fucking hate it.
Something ain't right.
A blade unsheathed, its light unleashed. We'll see this difficult too. Forward! Trust in me. Crystallize! Yay! That was We've done it! Hope you're not tired, Mr. Dolly.
3. Save work logs and check the machines at end of shift. Safety reminders. 1. Do safety checks. 3.
This ain't normal.
And check the machines at end of shift.
Time to fight.
Yeah.
Do safety checks before entering. 2. Evacuate the site ASAP during emergencies. 3. Update work logs. Do safety checks before entering or leaving the site. 2. Evacuate the site ASAP during emergencies. 3.
I guess I get it.
End of shift. Safety reminders. 1. Do safety checks before entering or leaving the site. 2. Evacuate the site ASAP
Cleared
during
it up
emergencies.
mostly.
3.
Okay, well, okay. Meanwhile,
Warning. This area is subject to possible attacks. Initiating combat.
Ready to strike. Crystallize. Everyone's chipping in.
We're united as one.
That move of yours was incredible. On support, ready. Leave it to me. Ready to strike. Leave it. You're fighting me. Crystallize. Here's our tail. Ready to strike. Face your end. Fire me. Go. Leave it to me. Make way. Here's our chance. Ready to strike. This will burn. Leave it to me. You're in. My turn. Give it a go. Another dance. Will trust in me. We're fighting me. Come too. Will trust in me. Face your edge. Here we go.
You pulled off a sleek move.
Right there. Maybe help too. Sweet. This will trust in me. Right? Eruption. Hey, face your edge. Yeah.
Successful.
Here goes the purple. Stop. I'm not even close. Wheel. What about you? It's also wheel. Skill damage. Ultimate gain efficiency. That seems quite nice. Oh, I see. So they have upgrades. Insufficient materials. Well, I'll get it done. Does it do? Doesn't seem all that interesting. It seems nice. Ooh, 4150. So 300 more than 300. It's also more than 300. Nope. Nope. Is it French ship?
Administrator has arrived.
That's me. I'm here. Oh, we're looking cozy in these sweaters. And of course, we're asked the age-old question.
Who are you?
Ooh, pop the collar? Sir, I need you to hold still. I'm trying to see your eyes. No, stop looking at me. What color are they? I can't tell. Are they like yellow? They look yellowish. Am I crazy? Maybe. Is this important? Probably not, but I still want to know. Oh, I've unlocked sprinting. We're practically in the end game now.
This will be a difficult campaign.
That's what you think, but I'm skilled. How do I do this? Is what I would ask if I didn't know. Oh, that's not what I was expecting. Oh, combat time. So we appear to have our basic attacks, which we can just hold down to attack. We don't have to keep spamming the mouse button. Very nice. Feels nice and fluid. We have a dodge, and we have a perfect dodge. Luckily, the dodge also doesn't interrupt your combos. And now we continue to follow the illusionary cat girl. I say with a question mark, so I'm not sure. I mean, she's got like cat ears. And now we've unlocked a skill. Ooh, it looks like an armor break. And of course, we have our ultimate. Very nice. Oh, that doesn't seem too good. Hope we don't need that building.
Let's strike forward.
You could just summon those? Excuse me, teach me how to do that. Have I won the game now? I feel like I've won the game. I don't want to leave this spot. I just want to stay by these. I'm about to be nerfed, aren't I? My boy is too strong. Oh, and I have infinite stamina out of combat. It's a beautiful thing. Oh boy, what is this place? Wait, there's something over there. Can I go get it? There's like a little orb. No, I want to see what it is. I'm still gonna go see what it is. Oh, it means I can interact with it. This looks like a boss arena. Is this the Grim Reaper? Oh, it looks kind of cool. Quick, summon all the turrets again. Okay, maybe they're not cat ears. I'm not really sure.
Careful, don't get hit.
Okay, I won't get hit. I'm so good. We now have a team of 4 people, and they'll fight on their own when I'm not controlling them, which is kind of cool. I'm sorry, sir. I can't understand you. Oh, we got combo skills as well? All right, I kind of broke the rules. I did get hit. Sir, I would love to read what you are saying, but I'm kind of busy. Oh, I broke one of his hands. What is that? What do you do? Ooh, wait, calm down. Oh, I realized a little too late what was happening there. Oh, I tried to time my dodge. That did not work. It's fine. I'm still alive. Okay, I'm starting to get the hang of this now. Hey, regeneration's a little cheap, don't you think? I was supposed to stop the countdown. It doesn't look like I did.
I'll be waiting in the north.
You'll be waiting in the north. I thought we were at the North Pole. The beginning of the game definitely said North Pole for the location. What's more north than the North Pole? I found a little rock. Surely that won't be really important later on. It is I, Javalius. Okay, they're definitely not cat ears. I will say, the textures in this look pretty good. There are so many people with animal ears. And I'm assuming our guy must possess the 6 eyes to be able to see through that thing. No, our bike! I wanted to drive it. Well, it seems there is some trouble on Talos 2, but lucky for you, after a short 10-year nap, Javalius has awoken.
This Anglos looks dangerous. We need to be cautious. We can focus our attack.
This is level 1. I can't be that dangerous. This enemy is more dangerous. You sure about that? I mean, I know that they're using these as a tutorial. I'm just giving them a hard time. It's just funny to see them say it's a really strong enemy and it's level 1 and it doesn't move until you attack it. But they're teaching us about combos right now, where you can swap between the characters on the field and kind of chain their skills together. See, that one's a little stronger looking. Oh, it's still level 1. Wait. Oh, never mind. I was gonna say this girl doesn't have any animal features, just elf ears, and then she turned around and she had a tail. I just want to point out, it's currently raining, and the character actually has raindrops all over them. I mean, even on his face. Look at that. Raindrop. Or he's crying. Or both. Okay. Important business here. I'm just having a little look-see. It seems that everyone either has ears or a tail or both. I presume that has something to do with the lore of this game. Level 3, I can't do that. These are 300% stronger than anything I fought so far. Why is this guy wearing drunk goggles in the middle of combat? Don't mind me, everybody here. I will just be stealing all of your healing supplies. Oh, sir, he had more than just ears or a tail. And this dude has face tails. Oh, I'm going crazy. You know what? You can have one of these too. Okay, who is this? Get who? Who is it? Because he's an owl. He's... let's just pretend I didn't say that. A new character. Oh, hey, it also seems like we get some free stuff just for playing the game. Always love to see that. And also, I've unlocked the headhunting mechanic. First pull, let's see what we get. And also, let's just see what the animation looks like for summoning. Oh. Ooh, it's gold. Does that mean it's gonna be like the best thing in the game, or is it just always gonna be gold? It's very gold. I mean, come on, that's so gold. All right, let's see. I mean, it's gold. It's gotta be something good. All right. Open. 4 star. I don't know if they're really stars. Another 4 symbol thing. Lizard Man. Okay, how many 4 stars did I actually get here? There's so many. Is this normal? I'm gonna assume this is normal. Okay, ooh, 5. Who this? Oh, Avowena. So interestingly, it looks like weapons are not included on the character recruitment. Future Java here, just to clarify something now that I understand it better. In this game, there are 4-star, 5 stars, and 6-star characters, with 6-star obviously being the highest. Oh, that's kind of cool. When you get multiple copies of the same character, you can actually unlock it where you can see them in places like this in Dijon, and it looks like it's only 5 copies to max them out. I will also say, I like the UI in this game. Like, everything just feels really smooth to click through. It looks like it's time to build it.
This is new. No tasks for me today?
I've requested a set of supplies on your behalf, Endman. I hope it can help. There are times when you overwork yourself. But do remember, it is all right to count on me and Endfield Industries.
Hey.
I'm really sorry. You're already broke.
Wait, already 6K? It was quick. Here's the amethyst something. Here it is. A couple.
The moment you say work, all my energy just evaporates. I vote nap before task, Handman.
Not a problem. I've actually tried every job at this place, and they're way simpler than putting up fortifications. Not a problem. I've actually tried every job at this place, and they're way simpler than putting up fortifications.
Yay!
Hey everyone, it's Sevi, and welcome back to another Genshin Impact video. This time, a pre-release CE server video on Illua, or as my autocorrect called him, illegal. So just keep in mind that this is a CE server video, and I recorded it on the CE server, so there may be changes between here and the official version, but that's very unlikely. Now, in this video, I want to talk about Illua's kit and his constellations, which constellations are important, which are necessary or not so necessary, some important notes regarding how to build him, and then teams or how he performs with Zibai, since he basically is her dedicated support, and then my overall impressions about him. So the constellations I'm going to give a bunch of focus, especially because I feel like with 4 stars that are dedicated supports like these, you pull specifically for certain characters, a bunch of their constellations tend to be key in activating their full potential. So just watch out for that section, and let's just get into it. So real quick, Illua is basically like lunar crystallized Shenhe, but also is like Zibai's Goro to Ito. If you don't know what that means, then it's fine. We'll just get into the kit. Illua is a polearm user. His skill shoots out like a nightingale type thing, and from it he can get 4 to 5 geoparticles, which is actually quite a lot. And that of course helps charge up his 60 cost burst. And when you activate his burst, he gets like the Shenhe quills, which are basically stacks that add base damage to a certain type of damage. In this case, it buffs the active character's geo damage. And in this case, those quills scale on his EM stat. So Illua uses those quills, or these nightingale stacks, to buff the active character's geo damage, which of course includes lunar crystallized damage. But the interesting thing is that his lunar crystallized damage buff is higher than his geo damage buff. As you can see on his scaling page, that lunar crystallized damage buff is no joke. So this also, we have to be specific, only applies to lunar crystallized damage that a character directly deals using their talents or using their kit. This doesn't buff damage from lunar crystallized reaction or moondrift harmony procs itself. So as you can see, this buff is kind of hard locked to Zibai. Zibai is the only character right now, I guess aside from Columbina, who can deal direct lunar crystallized damage with her kit and with her talents. So with that being said, Illua starts with 21 Nightingale stacks, but if you get Geoconstructs on the field, which you easily will with lunar crystallized, he can get 5 more stacks per Geoconstruct, maxing up to 15 more stacks. So all in all, that means he can get a max of 36 Nightingale stacks. Multiple opponents hit, consume multiple stacks depending on how many opponents are hit and such. So it's a pretty straightforward kit. Illua is going to be an EQ bot. When he activates his burst, is going to be buffing the on-field character's Geo and lunar crystallized damage by a whole bunch, as you can see. Now, his passives are also pretty straightforward. His first passive, the Torchforger's Covenant, when his skill or burst is used, party members get 5% crit rate and 10% crit damage on their Geo damage. So it's interesting that these aren't direct buffs to their party members' stats, they're buffs to the Geo damage that the party members deal. And then his next passive is going to be dependent on the elements of your teammates. So if you have 1, 2, or 3 Hydro or Geo characters on the team, you will further increase the Nightingale stack scaling by 7, 14, 24% of his EM, respectively, for geo damage, and 48, 96, and 160% respectively of his EM for lunar crystallized damage. So it just means that there's additional EM scaling if you have more Hydro or Geo characters on the team. So you always want to have that on. Have at least 3 Hydro or Geo characters on the team. And as you can see, the lunar
I'm gonna fight the story boss here, so if you don't want to get spoiled, feel free to click.
Well,
on January 23, 2026, the Twitter account DHSGov tweeted, "Americans
I've
have
spent the
always
last
known
several
why."
months visiting a remote indigenous
The attached video is a clip from Werner Herzog's documentary Encounters at the End of the World, a segment that features a penguin breaking from the collective and walking off towards the distant mountains, to which Herzog says, "But why?" At this point, the video replaces footage of penguins with footage of Trump and his Gestapo goons in ICE brutalizing the American people. The intent here is to call to American exceptionalism, the frontier spirit. Americans have always known why, they say, because the pursuit of the majesty in the distance is supposedly quintessentially American. It casts Trump as the renegade penguin, a lone wolf hero breaking away from the herd, doing his own thing, an American thing which has presumably been lost. Trump, severing America's ties with its allies, warmongering, and his trade wars are just American individualism, baby. Don't follow that penguin herd to the ocean full of fish. It's very profound. It's a profound statement, and that's why this is a king penguin. It also attempts to paint the present as merely an uncomfortable phase that must be endured before a promised reward, the long ice sheet between now and the mountains. You don't get to see the mountains if you aren't willing to walk the distance, which is a thing Americans have always known but simply forgot before Trump came to show them the way back. The murder of civilians, the brutalization of the populace, the state of fear, the concentration camps, the open admission to using ICE to punish Trump's political opponents to gain access to voter rolls. This terrorism is simply the cost of getting to the mountains where implicitly America will be great again. Layla Cunningham, a UK politician running for Mayor of London under the Reform Party, has also embraced this penguin as a symbol, posting an AI-generated image of her walking towards the mountains hand in flipper with a penguin. Right-wing politicians around the world have embraced this penguin as a symbol of their pursuit of a distant ideal. But that's not really what's happening here. The penguin isn't just like wandering off to see some sick mountains, because it's never going to get there. There's no food, there's no shelter, there's no security. The penguin is going to die. Immediately before the clip in the full documentary, Herzog asks a penguin expert if penguins can go insane. So another thing that's implicit underneath this is the recognition that Trump and his cronies are on a suicide mission. They do not believe in the future, they cannot conceptualize the world surviving the present, and so theirs is an embrace of pure id, pillaging what future does exist to live out a revenge fantasy for no other reason than because they can. Their only policy is chaos and hatred, because where they're going, they don't need policies. The actual mountains, America the Great, and its promised flourishing don't matter. It can remain a hazy shape on the horizon because no one headed there will live to see it. Their only goal is to take everything else with them on the way out into the ice to die. Now, maybe that's just cope on my part. I, too, am human and need to rationalize the world as it exists, grapple with the future, but it would go a long way to explaining why modern right-wing propaganda is so grim and nihilistic, reticent to depict any coherent ideal, even an unrealistic, unobtainable one. Herzog intended for the Penguin to reflect on humanity. Encounters at the End of the World is unabashedly an anthropomorphic film about the stories that people read into nature in order to say something about ourselves, and to that end, the United States Department of Homeland Security has looked at this penguin and said, yep, that's us. We're doing this for no reason. We have no hope of success. There is no meaning to this. You don't need to ask us why, because you've always known why.
Out of 4. They're out of 1.
People outside of here need to pay attention because it's coming to a city near you. I'd heard that there would be a veteran-led protest across the street from the Whipple Federal Building. At some point, a bunch of agents lined up in sort of like a military formation. I was across the street into an entranceway of a parking lot taking photos, and I was tackled by 2 or 3 agents in green to the ground, face down. And they started screaming at me, "We got you because we saw you bear spraying your people." And I said, "No, you didn't." They're screaming at me to put my hands behind my back. They set up a tear gas canister very close to me. I could literally barely breathe.
It's round and shiny.
Honestly, I didn't know what was going to happen to me. If I pass out and they bring me into that building, how long would I be in there for? Would I ever see my cameras again? And so I decided to throw them. And then I yelled my name out and I yelled, "I can't breathe," so someone could grab it and save the images, because I felt like what I had photographed there should be seen.
We kind of locked eyes, John and I, and he tossed his camera to me. You know, press supposed to stay neutral, but in that half a second or two, I just thought, I'm gonna grab this and then do my best to get some images that covered it. There was an image of an ICE agent trying to grab John's phone out of his hand.
Somewhere about that time, a hand came around and inches away from my eyes, sprayed it with bear spray. I literally couldn't see anything. My eyes were just in so much pain. Then they picked me up, handcuffed me, walked me into the building. Once they finally released me, I waited until I got my camera before I was comfortable going to the hospital, because I didn't know who had it. I had multiple wounds on my leg from pepper bullets, chemical burns in my eye. I didn't look at any photos again for several days, actually. I was pretty amazed to see how aggressive some of the photos look. I think it's unlike anything I've seen here before. It's a different type of aggression somehow against people who are using their right to speak. It appears like they can do what they want and there's no repercussion.
Naively, we don't think it should be happening here. You know, it has been and it is, and it seems to be getting to a boiling point.
Just got an alert right now from a rapid response network that maybe there's something nearby. Lots of people are having much worse experiences with the agents than I am, like their dad being torn out of their arms and dragged away, or little kids that are being grabbed. That photo really isn't about me. It's about freedom of the press, for one, people's freedom themselves. How do you fight back against this? It deserves to be seen, what's going on around here.
It's slippery. No. Okay, I'm not doing it right now. Doing that, maybe also. Just gonna move forward.
It seems that Tata isn't doing too good. We should look for another way. The blight has blocked this path.
These drones, they won't blow us up, right?
Something ain't right. We get ambushed. Time to try my brand new.
Or we give it a go. Boys, forward. Ready to strike. Blossom, forth. Knock it. Right there. Just leave it to me. Crystallize. You're fighting me. Eruption.
A definitive outcome achieved through strong teamwork.
I knew we could do it. I spot treasure. Let's go take a look. We almost missed that.
This feels familiar.
These drones seem to be ignoring Tata completely.
Since they're designed by the same person, they should have the...
What a weird note. Okay, let's just get it. Cast ultimate fetch on times. Ish. Camera filter, what the fuck? This is bullshit. Three crates with random goods. Weapon supply like in 200. Oh, and cycle rewards. So that's how it is. Recover sanity. Okay, let's go do the other two first.
If you wanted to go and find illegal immigrants, you really wouldn't go to Minneapolis. It's got a relatively small population of immigrants and relatively small population of illegal immigrants. So I think you'd go, in fact, to Texas or Florida, both Republican states. So you have to ask, kind of, was there another reason? And there could be lots of reasons. One thing that goes through my mind is whether this isn't part of a process to try and take on sanctuary cities, cities that say that they are standing up against the federal government in this policy in order to punish them. And it's the city of Tim Walz, who stood with Kamala Harris in the ticket. It's a city where George Floyd was murdered and had a history, therefore, of protests. It is a city of a strongly democratic city. So I think all of those things could be a factor. What strikes me about this, I've been trying to think about sort of what are the underlying purposes of this. And one of them, I think, is an attempt to further polarize the United States and to get a sense across to the base voters of the Republicans that Democratic-run cities are dangerous places, badly run. The Democrats are soft on crime, soft on immigration, and the enemies of law enforcement. And so there's a kind of political operation that goes alongside the superficial purpose of dealing with immigration.
So, Edward, let's wind back first a bit. Over the weekend, Alex Pretty, an intensive care nurse, was shot and killed, and like the story of Renee Good, it was in disputed circumstances. What do you make of the narratives surrounding that killing?
To me, when I look at them, these videos don't tell the same story as the one that's being put forward by Greg Lavino and Christy Young. It's very clear that he wasn't brandishing a gun. He doesn't look as if he's approaching officers with murderous intent. It looks like he's trying to stand between ICE officers and a woman who's been pushed to the ground, and then he's pepper sprayed. But I think there's something even more important than that, which is that the process for establishing what happened needs to be undertaken independently. The way that the administration is rushing in to judgment, trying to define the story before that, and they're the ones who have also will undertake the investigation as to what actually happened. I think that's very disturbing.
So ICE went looking for a fight, and now it's got one in a place where it can't do the giant roundups that the government seems to be looking for.
Well, I should first of all say that it's not just ICE, it's also the Border Patrol, and they were the force that was engaged with Alex Pretty. Bigger than ICE, a militia too, and very violent, very paramilitary. But yes, broadly, that's exactly the right way to think about this. I'm speculating, obviously, about the political purpose of this. But if I'm right that the administration is targeting Democrat cities, but it's now targeting one where there aren't that many immigrants, ICE has a really difficult job of filling the quotas that we know it's expected to fill. And so the struggle to fill full quotas in a city that's perhaps not the best place to try and find illegal immigrants, I think only leads to more aggressive action.
And so what do you think about the optics of this operation in Minneapolis now, given that 2 people have been killed in these disputed circumstances? Is it the show that the administration wants to put on?
I think it's important to stand back here. The Biden administration failed
Wanna play a
badly
game?
on dealing with illegal
My
immigration.
turn then.
So Trump came in, and I think his single biggest political success has been closing the border.
Ice is cracked.
This action in Minneapolis in particular, which is on a much bigger scale than any of the actions in other cities like Chicago or Los Angeles, is undoing that work. There was a YouGov poll that came out last night, released in the early hours of this morning, UK time, which shows that about half of Americans think that the shooting on Saturday of Alex Pretty wasn't justified, and only 20% said it was justified. And interestingly, the proportion who think it was unjustified goes up to 2/3 if they've seen the video. And altogether, now, more Americans, a little over 40%, think that ICE should be abolished than think that ICE should be retained. This is a policy that's taken, I say, Donald Trump's biggest success and is detonating it. And is becoming increasingly unpopular. And you can sort of understand why. Because when immigration is an abstract thing, I think people are all very much in favour of dealing with, and they're told it's criminals, people are in favour of that. But when it's someone you know being dragged from the street in front of you, and when you can see the evidence, and when you can see the consequences for small children and for American citizens of this action, then people start to question it.
So given that the attitude towards what's going on here is changing, what do you think happens next?
I'm watching a couple of things, Jason. One of the things I'm watching is the demonstrations. Of course, it is very cold in America. The temperature in Minnesota is anywhere from -26 to -11. That is not the weather for large demonstrations, although people have been demonstrating. But I'm watching to see whether those demonstrations are large and peaceful, in which case they become a powerful engine against the administration, or whether they turn violent. It doesn't take much arson and looting for a protest movement to become entirely discredited. And I think if that does happen, the administration will feel that its political strategy is working. But the other thing I'm watching is in Washington. There's a vote at the end of the week on the budget, which includes a large increase in payment to the Department of Homeland Security, which oversees ICE and Border Patrol. And the question is, do Democrats vote this through, or do they not vote for it and lead to a shutdown in the government? And that's a difficult question that all Democrats will be asking themselves of how they should behave and what their conscience tells them.
Well, this is the question. This gets to the heart of what today's America looks like, how important the immigration question really is when the rubber hits the road, as you say. But it's also strange now that we have two cases where the video evidence seems to suggest one thing and the administration suggests another. There's a certain you have not seen what you believe you have seen kind of feeling here.
Yeah, I think a number of things are going on. One is just how threatened ordinary Americans feel. I think the sense that you can be on a street, you can be exercising your First Amendment right and still be shot. Alex Pretty was exercising his First Amendment rights to protest, but he was also exercising his Second Amendment rights to carry a firearm. And in Minnesota, you can carry a concealed firearm. And yet the administration is saying he was brandishing his firearm, he was armed, he was dangerous, he had an intent to massacre, and that is stirring up a division on the right, because the National Rifle Association, which strongly supports Second Amendment rights, is picking up on this sense that if you have a gun and you're near the police, you're in danger, and of course for them that's anathema. I think a second thing is the relationship between the federal government and the states. Minnesota and its governor...
So is Minnesota hidden carry? Or open carry?
Intercept! Seal! Break! Pretty cool, huh?
As foreshadowed. You asked for it. Noise, be gone. Oh, my turn then.
My apologies! from countless legends, melodies, and dreams.
A little smashing should do the trick. Let's break the ice. Now, little cuties, crush them!
And the mayor of Minneapolis, both of those people are now being investigated for speaking out against ICE. There's a strong sense in which the state has had Border Patrol and ICE imposed upon it. Its own police force and legal apparatus has not been allowed to investigate either of these shootings so far. So there's that old question about, the federal government and the state. And then lastly, something you were getting at, I think, Jason, which is the nature, it sounds abstract, but the nature of truth itself. People are being told not to believe the evidence of their own eyes. And at some level, the assertion of a government that, no, we define what truth is, the harder it is to believe this. In fact, the more the evidence of your own eyes says something different, it becomes an assertion of power in itself. And we know that this administration thinks very deeply and seriously about power and how it's used.
Edward, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Jason.
Why the fuck is it so fucking loud?
Cheers. Interestingly, you can make that plink sound on your own with a single glass and nothing inside but pure water. And all you have to do is shake it like this.
More like this.
The glass needs to be a special shape. Though if you do get the shape right, not only do you get the...
This guitar looks pretty normal, until you notice the strings aren't attached to the body. They're pulled in tension by these extremely powerful magnets. And this gap changes everything. How you play it? Wow! What it sounds like? Why does it sound so good? And the amount of fingers left on my hands. And all of this started with me just tying a small magnet on each guitar string. This looks cool. Look at this. But when I tried playing it, it didn't even make a sound. Let's try a chord. No! Because the strings were so loose, I could literally blow them away. So how do we get a lot more tension while maintaining this gap? I think we just need some bigger magnets. And these might look small, but this is the strongest grade of magnet a human can buy. Oh, wow. And sometimes that fact came back to bite me. Oh, you. They pinch so hard. Okay, they look a lot more stable now. Let's see if I can blow them away. Okay, good. Let's try it. Huh. I mean, I hear notes, but the tension is still just too low. I can't really play it. It's like a rubber band. It feels so weird. Look at how they move. This proves the idea works, but to actually make it playable, the forces needed are way higher than I expected, because I'm forcing the magnets to work across a gap. It's basically the most inefficient way to use them, but also the coolest. So I finally did the math, and it turns out we need magnets 5 times stronger than these. Already here, I can feel it's pulling. I will release it. Whoa! It broke the wood. Oh my god, these guys are getting a bit scary strong. At this point, they can definitely break your finger. And if they break mine, that's on me. But if you're ever injured by someone else's negligence, you deserve to get paid. And that's where the sponsor of this video comes in. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm.
Wait, what?
There's a reason why lawyers to get legal stay to find that magnet on the guitar. Huh. Wow, this one really feels like a guitar string. The movement of the magnet here. Look at it. I will bend the note. Whoa. This has potential. And when you're done playing, just take your string. And you have your string. I don't know what the purpose for that is. And when you want to play again, you just... Whoa! Now all we need to do is adding more strings. And with the second string, they are more stable because they're pushing at each other. Wow, 2 magnets is actually better. But as I added a third one, I ran into a huge issue. Oh wow, it's so unstable suddenly. Oh, come on. Attempt 5. These magnets really hate being close to each other. It seems at this strength they also start fighting sideways. So I started separating the strings. More. And more. Come on. Until I ended up needing a guitar neck wide like this. Oh. But that's when I realized, what if I just put all the strings on the same magnet? But with this approach, we're going to need an insanely powerful magnet. Whoa! Okay, that's a good start. It was a bit concerning they packaged this like I ordered a grenade. Doesn't look that bad. Over exaggerations. Before putting it anywhere near the guitar, I wanted to get an idea of what kind of power I was dealing with. Wow! Oh my god, I can't slide it. What is this magic? Yeah, it's definitely powerful. And I never got the magnet off. So I had to order a new magnet. Before this sticks to something else, let's mount it on the guitar. Oh my god, this looks cool. And for the first time, the strings could sit closely without smashing into each other. But it was a bit terrifying. I mean, only 4 thin metal wires are now stopping these 2 magnets from violently colliding and exploding. Whoa! And let's not talk about accidentally getting the hand in between them. Fortunately, I won't have my hands there. For now. Because I need to tune it first. But as I did, I noticed a little issue. Wait, when I turn this tuning pin, this string changes. But I'm tuning this string. Well, it turns out if all the strings are connected to the same floating point, tuning one string changes all the others, which make this guitar basically impossible to tune. Unless I get more creative with my tuning strategy. My first idea was to tune it by changing the thicknesses of the strings. A thinner string increases the pitch, and a thicker string lowers it, without affecting the tension of the string. And with a lot of trial and error, that's not bad! Wow! This is cool. Stop, please. I'm getting nervous. Shush. I got a big improvement, but it wasn't there yet. So I designed something that allows me to tune by adjusting the length of the strings, which got me even closer. close enough that I should be able to use the normal tuners for these tiny final adjustments. And after an entire day of potentially the most frustrating thing I've ever done, I finally did it. I tuned it. It's tuned. So now, let's try it. No, 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 no. I'm instantly scared. I couldn't believe I was playing a guitar where the strings were not attached to anything. But I also couldn't believe how lame it looked. I mean, it basically looks like a regular guitar, and I don't want to sacrifice my hand for this. So I reach out to my designer Shervin, and after a lot of iterations, we came up with a design that could truly do this justice.
Attacks from behind hurt the most.
And after a lot of 3D printing and assembling, the new body was ready. Oh shit, what was that? But the magnet's desire to stay together was again stronger than I expected. Oh no, the entire guitar is bending. Do it. No, why is it so close? Whoa. Oh no. So the final product didn't really match the sketches. He's doing some yoga, this guitar. Wow, this makes me quite worried. But after analyzing the point of failure, I came to the conclusion that plastic is weak. So I made a new version using metal instead. Taco, look at how stiff it is. Yeah, Taco approves. Now let's just put it together and pray this thing actually works. Okay, let's do this. Wow. This looks insane. Look at it. From my angle, this looks crazy. It looks fake almost. I can't believe I'm doing this. Ah! Oh. Okay, it works. I can feel the whole thing kind of wiggles back and forth with my playing. It's like jumping on a trampoline with your hand. Okay, I discovered something really cool. So if I just push on the side of the magnet, we're bending the notes. But if I instead push the magnet towards me, we push the strings closer to the pickup and we're controlling the volume. And if I instead play something and grab the magnet... Oh, I don't like those sounds. What am I doing? Okay, what am I doing right now? I should not be there with my hands. Anyway, there's so many possibilities with this magnet. Okay, let's try to actually play something here. Okay, I will just go for it. I will not be a coward. Ah. Okay, magnet, stay there. Wow. Listen to these bends. It sounds so good. Honestly, when you play it like this, you kind of forget that the strings are literally not touching anything here. I can't believe this guitar works. This is crazy. Oh. Okay. Relax, guitar, it's okay. Now for round 2, let's upgrade it. Because I really like the effect we get from pushing on the magnet. But it requires a lot of effort. But I made this little thing that can help us do that a lot more efficiently and safely. Okay, let's put this on. This is not safe. This guy has too much power. I hate magnets. Wow, that doesn't look bad at all. Look at this. Okay. Whoa! Wow, wow, wow. It's out of tune. Oh. You know what? It is in tune without this thing on the magnet. But when this thing hangs on the magnet, it changes the weight, and that feels different in the strings. This is so... It feels so good. This is so good. It's so smooth, it's crazy.
A measure of steel slices the world through.
I love this. I love this thing. Ah, this is cool. So if I flick this thing, the magnet starts shaking and it's creates this little effect.
It's my grace!
Without? With. That's cool. Okay, enough playing around. I want to try to play something really difficult now. You ready?
Leave this to me.
It's like a loaded gun. Stay magnet.
How's that? The sword follows my will and wins
Okay.
howl in the
I
heavens.
think that's it for today. Whoa! Yeah, definitely. This day almost cost me a heart attack. But fortunately, I still got all my 10 fingers. And I'd like to keep it that way. So I'm putting this guitar aside for now. Just to be safe. Become a member to my channel if you want to see extended testing of this guitar right now. And I also have a bonus video of my piano playing octopus attack. And don't forget to join my Discord to see what I'm working on next.
Let this sword array send you away. The verdict is unforgivable. The enemy looks kind of tough. Surprise, surprise. No more shadows. My turn now. I'm gonna do my best.
March 1979. American listening posts detect something deep beneath the Barents Sea, and it's moving at speeds that should be impossible. Faster than anything they've tracked before. It's not only faster than any submarine, it's fast enough to outrun their torpedoes. The Soviet Union has built something unstoppable, and it's caught everyone by surprise. A generational leap forward in material science, nuclear engineering, and computer automation. But this new superweapon will end up being more than the Soviets bargained for. In the late 1950s, the Cold War intensified as the United States and Soviet Union raced to gain the upper hand beneath the oceans. The Soviet Union's strategy was simple: build as many submarines as possible. Attack, guided, and ballistic missile subs poured out of Soviet shipyards. By the mid-1960s, the Soviets would have more than twice as many submarines as the United States. But the numbers weren't telling the real story. Below the surface, American crews could stalk Soviet subs for hours, even days, without ever being detected. For Soviet crews, it was the opposite. American submarines had seemingly vanished from the oceans. Over the previous decade, U.S. naval engineers had developed sophisticated stealth technologies like dampeners, precision gearing, and advanced propulsion that made their submarines much quieter. By comparison, Soviet technology had fallen behind. Machinery sent vibrations through their hulls, reduction gears rattled with noise, and propellers, cast with less precision, shredded through the water. Soviet military planners faced a chilling reality. If war ever broke out, the Americans could find and destroy Soviet submarines before they had a chance to strike back. The Soviets understood the problem. When it came to stealth, they were at least a decade behind the Americans. Simpler design and construction had allowed them to build submarines faster. But now, quantity over quality looked like a mistake. So what do you do when you're caught in a fight you can't win? You change the rules. In 1960, work began on a radical new submarine, built not around stealth, but raw performance. The first objective was sheer speed, at least a third faster than any American submarine. Next, maneuverability. American submarines needed 2 to 3 minutes to execute a 180-degree turn. Soviet engineers would aim for 40 seconds. Finally, raw acceleration, from a dead stop to full speed in under a minute. A burst of velocity so extreme it would overwhelm tracking systems, allowing Soviet crews to close in at blistering speeds, strike with overwhelming force, and escape before the enemy could react. It was an asymmetrical response, a submarine that would make stealth obsolete. What Soviet designers came up with wasn't just a faster submarine. It was a complete rethink of how they operate. At its heart was a revolutionary liquid metal-cooled reactor, delivering up to 3 times more power, allowing the sub to accelerate from a dead stop to over 40 knots in just over a minute, a remarkable feat. But the new reactor came with one critical trade-off. It could never really be switched off. Even when idle or docked in port, its coolant would always have to be kept above 125 degrees Celsius, or it would solidify instantly and permanently destroy itself. But raw power was only part of the solution. The sub would also need to slice through the water, so engineers employed a radical teardrop shape with every inch smoothed over. Even the bow planes would be fully retractable at speed. To cut drag even further, the sub was made as compact as possible. But that meant having to operate with a crew barely a third the size of a typical attack sub. The solution was unprecedented automation. For the first time, computers would manage propulsion, ballast systems would adjust themselves, and torpedoes would load automatically. Navigation, sonar, and target acquisition would all be integrated into one central command system. And the entire pressure hull would be built out of titanium, 40% lighter than steel and far stronger pound for pound. It would allow the sub to dive deeper and survive depth charges that would crush conventional steel. What would emerge was a machine decades ahead of its time, built to outrun, outdive, and outmaneuver its rivals. But only if it all came together perfectly. The first hint that the Soviets were up to something came from intelligence sources reporting that new submarines were leaving assembly sheds at the Leningrad shipyard. But their hulls looked wrong. Ordinary steel, like the kind used to build American submarines, darkens almost immediately when exposed to the elements. These were highly reflective. Analysts suspected titanium, but it seemed impossible. Titanium was difficult to work with. Outside of high-end aerospace programs where weight and heat resistance mattered, it was only ever used sparingly. An entire submarine would require fabrication methods never attempted at scale. Massive hull sections would have to be assembled inside giant argon-filled chambers, hermetically sealed environments. To many, the thought of a dirty Soviet shipyard with welders fumbling around in spacesuits seemed comical. But
Okay. Daily check-in.
If the Soviets were using titanium, the implications were staggering. A sub with a lighter and stronger hull would move faster, dive deeper, and survive pressures that would crush conventional steel. Analysts estimated diving depths of up to 1,000. Meters, wildly beyond anything else in existence. NATO's anti-submarine arsenal could become obsolete overnight. The West scrambled to respond, fast-tracking the development of deeper diving weapons, new acoustic tracking systems, and faster torpedoes. For the first time in years, the West was playing catch-up. In 1972, the most sophisticated submarine the Soviet Union had ever built left its port on the Barents Sea. It had taken 11 years to develop, but it would lay the groundwork for the next generation of submarines. After years of playing catch-up, the Soviet Union had finally overtaken the West. Then, its liquid metal reactor solidified into one solid piece of metal. A fault in the steam generator had gone unnoticed, causing a leak and the liquid metal coolant to drop below 125 degrees Celsius. The reactor, the heart of the machine, was destroyed instantly. In the blink of an eye, the crown jewel of Soviet naval engineering had transformed into titanium scrap. It was a disaster on every level, technical, financial, and political, and the pressure to cancel the entire program was intense. But with so much already invested, development would push on. The destroyed sub was cut in half. The forward section was sent to Leningrad to serve as a dryland trainer, while the stern, with its frozen reactor, would remain in Severodvinsk. The running joke was that the Soviet Union now had the world's longest submarine. It would take another 5 years before a replacement could be built. The Soviet Union's most daring submarine program had been troubled from the beginning. Initiated in the late 1950s as Project 705 and what NATO would later call the Alpha class, design work dragged on for 8 full years before construction of the first submarine could begin. Once complete, the first sub was meant to undergo extensive testing, clearing the way for mass production. But that's not what happened. Instead, Soviet leadership, panicked by increasingly stealthy American submarines, ordered the immediate construction of additional Alpha subs before the first one was even finished. Pushing an unproven design into serial production without even testing it was a huge mistake. From the start, the subs were riddled with technical problems. Automated systems failed regularly, overwhelming crews. Specialized port facilities with equipment to keep the liquid metal reactors continually above 125 degrees were either never built or proved even more unreliable than the submarines themselves. It meant crews had to remain on board to keep the reactors continuously running. This constant operation, never envisioned by designers, made critical maintenance almost impossible. Engineers had planned for cruise and ballistic missile variants, designs that might have seriously threatened American carrier groups, but the endless cascade of technical setbacks kept them on the drawing board. By 1978, after a decade of setbacks and one catastrophic failure, the Alpha was finally ready. 6 more submarines entered service with the Soviet Navy. Not the 30 originally planned, but these were 6 of the most advanced attack submarines the world had ever seen. And they were kept on high alert at Soviet bases, ready to defend the Soviet Union's Arctic bastion. American commanders who encountered Alphas described the experience as visceral. They could outmaneuver and change position at breakneck speeds, dive deeper than any weapon could reach, and accelerate like nothing else in the ocean. But that speed came at a price. At 40 knots, the cavitating propeller and rushing water created so much acoustic interference that the Alpha's own sonar went blind. The submarine wasn't hunting, he was screaming, and the reactor that could never really be shut down turned into a maintenance nightmare. It meant that the subs spent more time in repair than out on patrol. Each Alpha had cost twice as much as a conventional nuclear submarine. And the program also forced the Soviets to develop an entire titanium industry, new fabrication methods, and push nuclear thermodynamics to its breaking point. All for just 7 submarines that barely worked. The scale of the failure was staggering, until you learned the truth. The Soviets weren't trying to build a better submarine. They were trying to invent an underwater fighter jet. Because translated records from its designers revealed that the submarine the world saw wasn't the submarine the Soviets were supposed to build. The Alpha was just the first piece of something much bigger, a revolution in naval warfare that almost happened, one that could have jeopardized the US Navy's surface fleet and even its aircraft carriers. In my new series called Unsealed, I explore what the history books left out and uncover the deeper stories behind machines and what could have been. And you can watch the very first episode right now on Nebula. Nebula is where you can watch hours of exclusive Mustard videos you won't find anywhere else, and my most ambitious projects ever, like my latest feature on Operation Bolo, which uncovers one of the most incredible combat operations of the Vietnam War. where F-4 Phantom pilots turned the air war on its head by dragging North Vietnam's elite MiG-21s into a deadly ambush. You might know the history, but you've probably never seen the battle like this. On Nebula, I'm able to go beyond what's possible on YouTube, with longer runtimes, deeper dives, and the freedom to build something truly cinematic without compromise. And it's where I explore captivating stories behind engineering marvels, iconic machines, and groundbreaking ideas that were supposed to reshape the future. When you sign up, you're not just getting more videos, you're directly funding the kind of ambitious, high-effort projects that otherwise could never have been made. Whether it's Real Engineering's Battle of Britain series, Neo's Underexposure.
Why is it for some things a regular old sharp knife edge just doesn't cut very well? Like layers of packing tape, plastic, or this non-ripe avocado for demonstration purposes. The answer to this problem from some sources is to use a serrated knife for its saw-like cutting action, which will help you saw through the harder material.
Well, what if I told you that this was incorrect? So you're saying all those years I've been trying to saw through this piece of wood, this isn't correct?
Serrated knife edges, they aren't saws. They don't saw, and the material hardness that you're cutting, while it certainly has something to do with the inability for a regular knife to cut, actually isn't the reason serrated knife edges work better on some things.
I mean, why can't I cut through a piece of cardboard like this?
You see, I think we and the knife industry have had serrated edges all wrong for a very long time. And it's the reason why knife edges like this, where the lower half of the blade is serrated and the other half of the blade is plain edged, is designed completely backwards. And this is because most people have a misunderstanding of how serrations actually work and how they're supposed to be used. I mean, what are these serrations actually for?
So I built one that's built correctly. So in order to understand this, we really need to understand the difference between saws and a knife, and how they actually cut stuff.
Why is it a razor-sharp serrated knife won't cut through a simple piece of softwood? We can saw back and forth all day, and even though we have razor-sharp teeth, the knife only goes into the cut so far until it dead stops, and stops cutting. Conversely, a much duller saw blade goes through the wood with relative ease, even though, again, it's much duller along the apex. You see, saws and knives cut using the exact same principle. They're basically just wedges, wedging things in a specific direction. Now, the difference between knives and saws is the difference in the direction they wedge the material and how they deal with the displaced material they wedge. Knives, when they cut things, wedge or displace their material to either side of the blade, parallel to the blade itself. Aside from an immeasurable amount, they don't physically remove any material from the side of the cut. The wedge shape compresses the displaced material either to one side of the blade or the other. Now, saws, on the other hand, use these same exact wedge-shaped cutting teeth to displace the material either up away from the cut face or from either side of the kerf towards the middle, depending on the shape of the saw teeth themselves. Now, a knife can do this exact same thing, but one large tooth at a time. In this demonstration, here our knife is removing material in the same direction as a saw blade does, up and out of the cut. But again, only one large tooth is working at a time. A saw uses dozens of these to do the exact same job on a much smaller scale. So why don't large serrations on a knife work in the same manner? Well, if we look at saw teeth up close, we can see that they're actually staggered. This allows us to cut a large enough kerf for the rest of the saw blade to fit into the cut face and allow the saw teeth to continue contacting material and continuing to cut. Therefore, even though we have what looks like saw teeth on a serrated knife edge, they don't work like saw teeth. They still function exactly like a straight, non-serrated knife edge in the direction that they displace the material in which they're cutting, which is to either side of the blade. Whereas saws physically remove the material they wedge apart at the cut face, up and out of the kerf, and into these large channels between the saw teeth, so it can be carried out of the cut. Now, a very important takeaway here is the direction of the cutting wedge relative to the material it's cutting. If we take a look at our one large knife sawtooth here, we are cutting a piece of this wood away no problem. But if we turn the cutting wedge to a different orientation relative to the material, suddenly we stop wedging the material apart. That's because the material has nowhere to go. Rather than wedge the material away from the surface, we wedge the material into itself. You see, saw teeth and knife edges have to be oriented in a very specific direction to the material we're cutting. In order to wedge in the direction, the material can either be compressed or removed. So how does this apply to serrated knives and designs like this? And why does this matter to you? It matters to you because in order to understand why you may need a serrated knife, you have to understand how they work. So the materials science and cut science gets kind of complicated here. So in order to explain this like we're all 5 here, which is about how old I am in real life, I think what we need to do is take a step back and sort of change the way we look at the world. That's it. I'm done with this guy. How insulting. So let's pretend that I'm in a computer. I'm an AI bot, I have a knife, and I have a piece of cardboard. Now you, as the programmer, say, AI, cut that piece of cardboard. In your mind, you may think, I'm gonna just cut the cardboard like this. But the stupid AI doesn't know anything, so what it does is it takes the knife and the piece of cardboard and does this. So now you say, stupid AI, not like that, use a slicing motion. And yet still our AI bot isn't able to cut through our AI generated piece of cardboard because the laws of physics for some reason still apply in our AI world. Now finally we get frustrated and we tell our AI bot to turn the cardboard on edge and cut through the piece of cardboard along its thinnest dimension. And voila! We're finally able to make our cut. As it turns out, the direction you cut whatever material you're cutting matters tremendously. Now the problem here is that what if we can't always rotate the material to the correct orientation? What if the material is flat on a workbench, or the material is a different shape? We can't always easily rotate the material or the knife to the correct orientation to cut optimally. See, for some things, to get optimal cutting orientation, we would have to rotate the knife all the way up, tip down super awkwardly, and it's just not practical or really that safe. So how do we cut these things better? Well, that's exactly what a serrated knife does. All of these little teeth along our serrated blade are just pre-rotated knife wedges, so that when we run into a material in real life that can't easily be rotated to the correct cutting orientation, we don't have to awkwardly tilt our knife to the ceiling and make a bunch of tiny little wedging passes. All of these little knife tip wedges are built into our serrated knife. So I wanted to demonstrate this in ridiculous scale for those Reddit posters who have a hard time visualizing stuff. You know who you are. So I built one of the worst knives that I've ever made. I attached a bunch of razor blades together on a piece of wood and tried to cut a flat piece of cardboard. And guess what? It didn't cut. So I reattached them and angled them to resemble the angled cutting wedges on our serrated blade. And guess what? It actually worked. Now aside from my serrations almost falling out, you can see on this large scale how the angled wedges are now in the correct orientation to cut through this cardboard tube, where a regular knife still won't work well. The reason this works is because after changing the blade orientation, we change the direction we are wedging the cardboard. So why then are these type of blades, in my opinion, built backwards? Well, that's because, as we just learned, serrations are slicers. They're not push cutters. They wedge and compress the material to the sides of the blade, not remove it. You see, they're directional. Now what if we made a blade that looks like this? Now this is a large scale version of one single serration. This blade will cut cardboard fine until we get to the point where the direction of the wedge changes and we start to wedge the material in the wrong incompressible direction. This is what happens with real life serrations when we push cut. We do not have control of the direction we push the material, and some of the material gets pushed back into itself from both directions, meaning there's nowhere for the material to go, so it bunches up in the cut. The importance of material cutting direction with serrations can also be seen when using a slicing motion. cutting cardboard in the normal slicing direction for a regular knife. A regular knife will cut right through, whereas even though this is a very sharp serrated knife, the serrations are in the wrong orientation to the material. It's sort of counterintuitive. Slicing with the cardboard in the regular slicing orientation with a serrated knife is the equivalent of you trying to slice with a regular knife in this direction. And even though this is a razor sharp knife, when we finally rip through it, we don't have a very nice easy cut. We completely rip through it. Same principle with trying to slice with a serrated knife in the wrong cut direction.
So how does this apply to an everyday item like cardboard? Well, typically people would cut the cardboard like this, and we know now that that's not the correct direction. Correct direction for a serrated knife to cut cardboard would be like this. Now we have a smooth cut, but
when we're using a more traditional half serrated blade where the serrations are on the back half of the blade, it makes them very hard to access for slicing tasks where the serrations actually should be used. So I made a test blade where the serrations were on the front portion of the blade rather than on the back portion, using the KME taper files to sharpen the serrations.
Enter our forward serrations, where you can actually use them.
So now when we cut zip ties, we don't have to angle the knife dangerously. We can simply use a regular slicing motion because the edge is pre-rotated for us. You can see in this very incompressible material with our serrations, we are wedging the material in the easiest direction, using just a standard slicing motion. You can also cut through things you just can't cut through with a regular knife.
Yeah, I don't even want to try that.
Like this hard, round piece of plastic. Again, because our cutting wedges are pre-rotated in the correct cutting orientation.
You know, I don't want to say it's not possible to do that with a regular knife, but it is way easier to do something like that with a serrated knife, especially when the serrations are where you can actually use them.
Now, if you've ever tried to sharpen a pencil with a serrated knife, you'll notice the lead keeps breaking, because the serrations are wedging the graphite into itself where it has nowhere to go, so it cracks and breaks. A regular knife edge wedges the material up and away rather than into itself. This is why the push-cutting straight edge portion of the blade should be near the handle for increased leverage in push-cutting applications, and the slicing serration should be towards the tip of the blade for better access.
So what's the deal here? Why is it that some materials just cut better in certain orientations? I mean, why can we cut a piece of wood like this in this direction, but in this direction it tears out and doesn't cut? See that rip? Is it surface area? Is it the grain of the material? Is it the direction of the supporting fibers around the fibers that are being cut? Is it the same type of phenomenon that happens when people rip phone books in half, where you're only tearing one little fiber at a time until you rip the entire thing in half, which is what causes the cut? To be quite honest, I think that there's a whole lot of things going on here that I can't really explain in this video. And to be quite honest, I don't actually really know.
Now, are you guys ready to have your minds blown? Because you're about to. I mean, on a relative scale. This pre-rotation is the exact same phenomenon that occurs with coarse grit knife edges and why they cut better on certain things.
I'm pushing that as hard as I can.
So here I have a fresh out-of-the-box razor blade, and it just skates the surface of this cardboard.
Well, I mean, that cuts way easier.
In contrast to a 320 grit coarse grit edge that bites right into the surface. Now this is the exact same principle of trying to orient our knife wedge to the correct orientation to the material we're cutting. The physics don't change from large scale to small scale. So this is the reason you may notice that sometimes coarser grit edges work better on certain things, where a super fine grit apex may skate the surface, as well as making sure that the scratch pattern is in the correct orientation. Now you may hear some people say that serrated edges are actually so that when your knife hits a surface that dulls the edge, it's just the points or tips of the serrations that dull, meanwhile keeping the inner serrations still sharp. This is not the purpose of serrations, it's only a byproduct of a rotated knife wedge. You see, we can completely grind away the tip of our regular knife. And guess what we still have? A tip. And if we rotate it, it still cuts. So this is the reason why if you have a plastic wrapped set of batteries, a fine edge knife will skate the wrapper, and a serrated knife or a coarse grit edge knife will cut right through it. So why not just serrate all knife edges and make them better slicers? Well, with a good also comes some bad. The answer is geometry. See, the very thing that makes serrations good for some things also makes them bad for others. With serrations, the angles are fixed. Why have the serrations at this particular angle when for some materials the steeper angle would actually cut better? We can't change that. It's baked in. You see, even the geometry of the serrations matter. So another problem that we have with serrations is the fact that as we cut larger and larger serrations into the knife edge, these serrations extend into a thicker part of the knife's geometry. And what that does is it thickens up the behind the edge thickness of these cutting edges right here, and makes it harder to push through material. As we know, the thinner something is, the easier it passes through something else. So this is why this is exaggerated, but this is why you'll see a lot of these serrated knives using hollow grinds, because we keep the behind the edge thickness a lot thinner, higher up into the blade. As opposed to a knife that's not hollow ground, we have a lot more thickness right about in here where our serrations would extend up into. However, we still have thickness issues. We can't thin this area out too much because what will end up happening is these points are just so thin up in here, and they have a complete lack of support by this area here, which is just air, that they become so weak that they end up breaking off, and that's definitely not something we want to do. And this is the reason why a regular non-serrated knife, which has just a straight apex and all of this material filled in like so, with blade material, can be ground a lot thinner and still have that structural integrity. Serrations are great for some specific tasks. You can think of them like specialty tools within the knife realm, more akin to how certain saw blades with specific geometry cut certain things better than others. You wouldn't use a wood saw to cut a nail.
I mean, some of us would.
But just like serrations, there are certain knife geometries that just work better on certain things and applications. Keep in mind, this is just a general overview of this subject, and we are just scratching the surface here when it comes to the physics behind cutting certain things. I hope this video... 4 years ago, I bought one of these. A ceramic knife.
In a world where ceramic knives are known to be throwaway consumables, one man stands in the way.
I tried it out and realized it was insane in one area: edge retention.
That's all my cardboard. So I think in terms of cutting up cardboard, I don't think that there's any knife out there that could beat a ceramic knife. Yes, it does beat CPM M4 by a long shot. It's not even close. I saved up a lot of cardboard for this, and probably over 1,000 feet of cardboard. No lie. I mean, I think it was around 45 cuts, 18 inches of cardboard. We lost that absolute shaving edge, but it stayed at that pretty much the same sharpness throughout the rest of this cutting test and hasn't really dulled much since then. So let's see if we can sharpen this back to shaving sharp.
But the problem is that when it finally did dull, I completely failed at resharpening it.
It's phone book paper, and it most definitely will not shave, so I don't know how to make it sharper.
At least not without resorting to some extreme measures. Now, there's one area in my life where I have never failed, and that is knife sharpening. I've never failed to sharpen a knife, except for this one.
I felt defeated. I don't know how to make it sharper.
So, here we are, 4 years later. Let's take another look at ceramic knives. Give it another try and try to dispel some of the myths surrounding ceramic knives, some of which I may be responsible for.
I don't know. What's going on here? How do I sharpen this thing?
I don't know. Because I was wrong. I was wrong about these, sort of. Right out of the box, this is what the factory new edge looks like up close under the microscope. So, are we going to have the same chipping issues we had before after some use? Now, I know from past testing and current testing that a ceramic knife will hold a better working edge than any steel knife cutting cardboard period. It's not even close. If your job is to cut cardboard all day long, then choose a ceramic knife. Well, how much cardboard does the average person really cut up? Now, I was gonna give accurate cardboard cutting numbers here in feet, but I ran out of cardboard before this knife would stop cutting pretty thin graph paper. Now the shaving edge was gone after about 47 feet of cardboard. And here's what that non-shaving edge after 47 feet of cardboard looks like up close. Oh boy, an absolute chippy nightmare of a fine apex. But the working edge held on forever. For a lot of stuff, these very fine microchips don't really matter. So, the working edge isn't really that affected. Only for the very fine tasks like shaving can you really tell a difference. So, at this point, the only thing that I could do was to see whether or not I could put the shaving edge back on this knife. Now, I sat down for hours and hours this time trying to sharpen this knife. This time using resin bonded stones rather than the plated diamond stones I was using several years ago that was causing all of the chipping issues. So the thing is, if I take my finger and run it down the edge, it feels like there's like micro chipping. I can feel it feels like chips. And after hours of trying, I was running into problems. The problem is that I kept getting chipping again as soon as I was apexing. It doesn't really shave. I mean, sure, you could get it to shave if you like force it down and like tear hairs out and whatever, but I think that is due, after looking at the up close image, that's due to the sawtooth nature of the apex. Basically, as soon as the edge came to an exact point, it would break off and I'd have to start all over. Now, I did this over and over and over again, somehow thinking that the basic principles of sharpening somehow don't apply to ceramic knives. And trying numerous different resin bonded diamond stones, thinking that the problem was the stone and not me. And suddenly it dawned on me. We're back to shaving. I think we may have figured it out. If I was having the same problem with a steel knife rather than a ceramic knife, what would I do? I would increase the sharpening angle relative to the stone, making the apex more obtuse, thus solving the apex stability problem. And so that's what I did. So I just cut some more cardboard. I've just taken away that hair shaving edge. I mean, it is just on the verge of not shaving. Now, I want to see how quickly I can put it back. The light passes on the Veneve 1200. All right, we're shaving right off the stone. I think I figured it out. All this time, my problem is not what I thought it was. And like magic, turns out ceramic doesn't like very acute angles. It doesn't like pointy angles on knives. It simply lacks the apex toughness to hold those more extreme edge geometry angles. Who would have thought? It's almost like someone has been saying this exact thing for years here on YouTube. I don't know who that person could be. So once I finally realized this, and
alright, well.
Something that catches your eye.
First back to Genshin for a bit. Then this, I mean.
started following my own advice. How long does this take to sharpen? All right, we're shaving right off the stone. So here's what this edge looks like. This is off of a Veneve 1200, which is actually about a 3000 grit stone, and stropped on 1 micron and 1/10 micron diamond strop. My findings are that ceramic dulls via chipping. It doesn't really wear away like traditional steel. And you can see this right here with the CPM M4 blade. Both the ceramic knife here and the CPM M4 blade here have the same amount of cuts. The ceramic chips, the M4 sort of abrades away. Now keep in mind this 59 seconds was to simply bring it from a working edge back to shaving sharp. Bringing it from a truly messed up apex like this one here requires you to go through an entire grit progression just like a steel knife, only rather than creating a burr, ceramic makes chips. The finer you go, the smaller the chips and the sharper the knife. Now I only used $280 worth of sharpening stones to bring this edge back from a truly dull state. In other words, ceramic dulls via chipping and resharpens via chipping. Now in terms of where do the chips go if you're using this for food prep, and is ingesting ceramic chips versus metal dust any better or worse for you, I have absolutely no idea. But speaking of food, another reason you hear people say they use ceramic knives versus steel knives is to keep the food from oxidizing due to the ceramic knife's lack of transferring ions from the blade to the food, unlike its steel counterparts. Now this sounds like absolute hogwash to me, so I decided to test it out. First I cut a banana with a freshly sharpened ceramic knife and a typical $1 freshly sharpened stainless steel knife to see which one browned over first. Alright, the results of our banana test are that they look almost identical. I really can't tell a difference here. This was the ceramic, I believe, and this was the stainless steel. Oh, and they pretty much look identical. Now you may be saying to yourself, well, you didn't let them sit out long enough to tell a difference. Well, these sat out for 2 hours. Enough said. Now how about an apple? Surely we can tell a difference with an apple. Stainless steel, ceramic. So now for the results of our apple test, you tell me down below which one you think is the ceramic and which one you think is the steel. Do it. Do it now. Pause the video and go tell me below. No cheating now. This one right here is the ceramic. This one right here is the steel. Now, to give you an idea, these have been sitting out for 2 hours, and that is the difference in the apple test, the sharp versus dull test. So now, what if we cut an apple with a sharp knife and a dull knife? I wanted to try something. What if we cut one apple with a steel sharp knife and one apple with the same steel knife, but we dull it? So, it's along the same condition as the vast majority of people's steel kitchen knives are. Dull. Including mine. We have significantly higher oxidizing on the dull knife cut apple. If you look at these up close, you can see just how much cleaner the sharp knife cuts the apple versus the dull knife. And you can clearly see, at least I can clearly see here in real life, I hope you can see this on camera, we have significantly more oxidizing on the apple that was cut with the dull knife. In my opinion, based on my tests, the reason people think ceramics produce less oxidation is because most people's ceramics are going to be sharper than their dull kitchen knife. People buy ceramics because they are told that they stay sharp longer, and they do. So out of the box testing compared to a dull or steel knife will produce less oxidation. However, when you compare sharp ceramic versus actually sharp steel, the results are even based on what I'm seeing. So less oxidation has more to do with the dull knife ripping apart food fibers, producing more surface area than it does transferring ions or something like that. Now yes, there may be other tests out there cutting specific things where there's a bigger difference between ceramic and steel knives, but you're gonna have to leave that down in the comments because you know, we can only do so much in this video. Now I know what you're asking, which knife cuts a tomato easier? So I resharpened both knives to as sharp as I could get them and cut a tomato.
That's nice.
the worst day for my life, not only for my life, for my daughter and my family.
Last Sunday, I got a desperate call from the Mancia Rodriguez family saying that Adonai had been detained. We're very close, so I came rushing here to Morristown. People were terrified. There was raids going on and people were just being taken. I arrived at the house to utter chaos. The family was just devastated. We had no idea where he was. The confusion was just palpable. And we just spent 2 days trying to locate Adonai in the system and trying to figure out how to go about this process.
Annabelle, you can show him what the photo you have in your tablet? Daddy. Who is Adonai? I can tell you it was my partner. It was the father for my daughter, Annabella Mancia. An amazing father. Adonai living over here was 16 years old. He had almost, maybe 11 or more, 11 years, me in the country. What happened last Sunday? I'm going to work. I say,
On January 28th, 1390.
Am I looking all right from this angle?
We're going head to head.
I heard. Where are we headed?
Helena Nuke. Oh, unfortunately, it has the 5-star, the 6-star. That I'm not gonna get for a while. Gilberta.
Sup gamers, so my last video blew up, but there is a slight issue. I lied. You can make a better factory than this. And no, it's not the gear components. Here, there is the gear chain, all turned off because I don't need them anymore. Happy now? Anyways, apparently I'm stupid and can't do basic maths. 1080 divided by 30 is 36. Then tell me, why the f was I using 38 unloaders in my base? Okay, well the fix is easy. Just get rid of the half HC battery in corner of the hub. But then we have unused originium, which, you know, it doesn't matter. Except it does. It means my base is not min-maxed. Down with the half-back capsule. Because of the extra originium, we can take the 4 ferrium unloaders and make a full HC battery chain. But since I'm very quirky and special, and love making things harder for myself, I got the genius idea of fitting both HC batteries in Power Plateau.
You seem a decent fellow. I hate to kill you.
You seem a decent fellow. I hate to die.
Begin.
You know, it's a bit daunting because it's described as the greatest sword fight in modern times. Okay. One of the things Rob Reiner said to Mandy and myself.
Every single frame of actual sword fighting is done by Carrie and Mandy.
I don't want stunt guys or stand-ins or doubles. I want you guys. And Mandy was like, yeah, sure, great, you know. So I was standing next to him and going, yeah, fine, sure, it sounds great.
Oh, that wasn't supposed to go.
This is easily one of the most iconic sword fights ever filmed.
Who are you?
No one of consequence.
I must know.
Get used to disappointment.
Okay.
It's iconic for its tonal wit, character-first writing.
You are wonderful.
Thank you. I've worked hard to become so.
And real swordsmanship from the actors, giving us a duel that's as entertaining as it is masterfully crafted.
I admit it, you are better than I am.
Then why are you smiling?
Because I know something you don't know.
And what is that?
I am not left-handed.
Of course, it takes two to sword fight ambidextrously.
There's something I ought to tell you.
Tell me. I'm not left-handed either.
And for actors who are new to swordplay,
neither Carrie nor Mandy had any experience sword fighting.
That meant months of preparation. Well, less for Carrie.
So you've had no fencing training at all, right? And Mandy and I went, not really, no, none. Turns out Mandy had been training for 3 months here in upstate New York.
My job was to become the world's greatest sword fighter, and that's what I needed to do 24/7.
You've done nothing but study swordplay.
More pursuit than a study lately.
And I showed up for the first day rehearsal.
Whatever. I don't really want to continue the story right now. I'm just gonna go to sleep. Alright.